What is up guys, Jarv here, jumping back into Outriders. Now in our video today, we're taking a very close look at the Devastator. Recently in our series of videos, we covered the Trickster, but today we're taking a look at the other close combat class in this game and some of the epic builds you can create around it. Now huge shout out to Square Enix once again for sponsoring this series of videos. That super helps us out and supports us here on the channel. Now if you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a rating down below. That super helps us out on the channel as well. And if you're new here, I want to keep up to date with all the latest Outriders content, then be sure to hit subscribe as well. But without further delay guys, let's jump into the video. Now with the Outriders demo being out and in full swing, it's been an excellent time to get a grip on each class, but also theorycraft some pretty incredible builds to prepare us for the main game launching on the 1st of April. Now be sure to check the link down in the video description below, as this provides a link to all the information about the Outriders demo, all the platforms, all the content, and all the classes that you get to play, and all the abilities and loot that you can carry over into the main game on the 1st of April. Now to bring you guys up to speed, the Outriders demo is available right now and comprises of the first few hours of the game. And as we just covered, any progress that you complete in the demo will carry over to the final game at launch. Now Outriders itself is an RPG shooter with brutal powers and intense action. It focuses on deep RPG elements and mechanics and a compelling story set in a dark sci-fi world of Enoch. Now as with all great shooters, this can be played either single player as well as a drop-in drop-out co-op for up to 3 players. And last but by no means least, the game supports full crossplay, which will enable you to team up with players from different platforms, anytime, anywhere. So that's a full lowdown of the Outriders demo that's still available on your platform of choice. But today's video is all about the Devastator. Now much like the Trickster, this is a close combat class. However, the Devastator is built to stand your ground, take point and defend your allies too. It's basically a walk-in tank, enabling you to deal incredible amounts of damage whilst being an absolute asset for your team. Now each class in the game has a unique healing mechanic. So for the Devastator, this is where you'll recover health from slain enemies that are stood too close to you and are in close proximity. Now in terms of specific class traits, the Devastator receives an additional 15% maximum health, increases its armor by 30%, and every close range kill heals you by 24% of your maximum health too, keeping you in the action for longer, fully rewarding an aggressive playstyle. Now as well as full class trees that allow you to use class points in order to choose 3 specific class paths, each class will also have 8 unique skills. 4 of these are available in a demo right now, allowing us to get good hands-on time with the Devastator and help theorycraft some pretty incredible builds. Now one of the skills that's absolutely key to our build today is called Gravity Leap, and this is a kinetic and interrupt type ability. And this is where you leap into the air and strike your targets from above, dealing damage and interrupting your enemies within a small blast radius of the area that you land in. Now the cooldown for this ability is 20 seconds, but what it does do is give you a good overview of the battlefield by giving you a slightly higher point of view, and is excellent for that opening amount of damage, putting you back into the thick of the action at a simple click of a button. Now the great thing about being able to do this is any enemies that you do take down will recover large portions of your health. So whilst the maneuver might appear risky, in fact it can be the difference between life and death, especially as a Devastator. Now the next ability that's key to our build today is called Reflect Bullets, and this is a protection type ability. Now with this ability, it creates a barrier that captures all enemy projectiles and accumulates damage, and after 10 seconds of triggering the skill, the accumulated damage will reflect back to the enemies directly in front of you. The barrier also protects against melee attacks by reflecting some of that damage back, and this has a cooldown of 22 seconds too. And when you first gain access to this ability, mobility appears to be an issue. However, there will be some mods that we have on our armor that actually eliminate that completely, allowing us free reign around the battlefield while still having that protective reflective shield and accumulating all that reflective damage. Now the third and final skill, and one of the first abilities you unlock as a Devastator, is called Earthquake, and this is a seismic and interrupt type ability, and this allows you to release a shockwave that deals damage and interrupts all enemies in front of you, and this ability has a cooldown of 14 seconds. And this ability is excellent if you have enemies behind cover, as that Earthquake can still take them out, and when you combine this with the other abilities we're using in this build, it makes for some very powerful combinations out in the battlefield, giving your enemies very little chance of coming out on top. Now, as well as these unique skills, the Devastator also has a melee skill too, and this deals 68 damage and inflicts bleed to all enemies within a small radius. Now, if you are sprinting before you do the melee skill, this does change it to a ground slam that has a larger area of effect but has a slightly longer cooldown. So depending on whether you're on the run or not, it can be a last-ditch attempt to get that final bit of health back to keep you in the fight. Now, in the demo, we do get access to 2 skill points. We've used these on 2 abilities. One of them is called Havoc, and this increases our weapon's damage by 8%. 12%. And we've paired this with Shotgun Adept, and this increases your shotgun weapon damage by 12%, and these two stack on top of each other. So if you're running a close quarters shotgun build on a Devastator for this path on the class tree, you're going to be dealing an extra 20% damage just by using a shotgun. Now this isn't the only path you can take on this skill tree here. In the final version of the game, you'll have many more class points that you can use, and you can apply and adjust and even reset these at no cost at your free will. So if you want to do a bit of trial and error and experiment as well with different builds as a Devastator, be sure to jump into the game on the 1st of April and really get to grips with this class. So that's a quick overview of the class tree and skill points, but also the 3 key abilities we're using as part of our build. Let's take a closer look at the weapons we're going to use and some of the mods on our armor in order to fully complete this build and pull this off. The first weapon we're taking a look at is called the Zebra Ranger T. This is a rare assault rifle. Now the key mod on here is called Ashen Bullets, and shots inflict ash on enemies and has a cooldown of 8 seconds. Now we've paired this with the Distortion Core 2. Now the mod on here is called Essence Thief, and this is where shots regenerate your health. Now this works perfectly in combination with the fact that defeating combatants also grants health as a Devastator, allowing us to regenerate health not just on kills but also on shots too. And when you combine those two traits together, it makes for a very powerful combination, keeping you in the thick of the action almost indefinitely as long as you're dealing damage. Now we've paired this with a piece of headgear which has a mod called the Strongest First, and this helps improve our Reflect Bullets ability. Now this is where enemies with the most health take 50% more damage, meaning if you have elites firing at you whilst you have this Reflective Bullets shield up, you're more likely to take them out alongside the lower tier combatants. Now a lot of the mods that we're going to be applying on our armor are focused on improving the effectiveness of the Reflective Bullets ability. And it's with that in mind, next up we have our upper armor, and this has a mod called the Blood Primer. This again is for Reflective Bullets too, and this is where all Reflective Bullets apply a bleed status to your enemy. Now if you're new to RPGs and aren't too sure what a bleed status effect is, this is an ability that will allow your enemies to receive damage over time while moving. Now with these status effects there are counters. Now for the bleed status specifically, you can counter this by standing still for the duration of the effect. So if you receive bleed from an enemy, use the cover around you, staying stationary where possible until the bleed status has passed. Next up we have a new mod on our lower armor. This is called Auto Reflect, once again for the Reflective Bullets ability. Now this allows you to fight while the skill is active, but you cannot manually deactivate the skill, and it will only negate 50% of the damage. Now what this gives you is full mobility once again to move around the battlefield as you wish, but the amount of damage that it negates is reduced. So it's a trade-off between mobility and damage reduction, but in terms of the amount of damage that you can reflect, this appears unchanged, and having that extra mobility out on the battlefield is absolutely critical in order to keep you on the move. Now our penultimate piece of armor are our gloves, and the mod here is for our Gravity Leap ability, and this is called Bloody Crush, and this allows you to inflict bleed on enemies that are damaged by the skill. Now as we said earlier, bleed is a status that deals damage over time, leaving a lingering effect on any surviving combatants. And last but by no means least, we have our foot gear, which has a mod called Heal Per Kill, and this is for our Earthquake ability, and this is where each enemy killed with the skill restores 10% of the health to all allies within a 20-meter radius around you. Now by having this mod on our footgear, this acts as a passive ability which is a benefit to our entire squad. Now the mods on our weapons and armor mean that we can get health not just on kills but on shots, keeping us in the action for longer, dealing insane amounts of damage as a result. By having those mods on our armor, which gives us full mobility whilst using Reflective Bullets, means we can focus on the fight and utilize any extra damage from Reflective Bullets if we get caught in a crowd. Now naturally this is a very early build with 2 class points activated, and in the final version of the game we'll have many more customization options available to us, allowing us to easily elevate this build even further, turning us into an absolute tank out on the battlefield. Now as we said at the beginning of the video, the Outriders demo is available right now and will continue to be live even after the launch of the game, really giving you a good opportunity to try before you buy and giving you a good taste of what Outriders has to offer. Now alongside the Trickster and the Devastator, which are the 2 classes we've covered in this series so far, there's also a Pyromancer and a Techromancer too. So there's 4 classes in total and 4 character slots available in the demo, so you can try each and every class without the need to delete any characters. And whilst the demo does have a prologue, you can skip this on subsequent classes, allowing you to jump straight into the thick of the action if you wish. And once again, there is a link in the video description below which has all the information on the Outriders demo, so if you haven't jumped in and got your taste of Enoch just yet, all the information is there at your fingertips. And again, huge thank you to Square Enix for sponsoring this video and the series so far. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a rating down below. That super helps me out here on the channel. Or if you're new here and you want to keep up to date with all the Outriders content, and there'll be much more in the next couple of weeks and months, be sure to hit subscribe as well. I'm going to jump back into the game as always, guys, but I will catch you all again very soon.